The product that ends up thick and golden in a glass bottle starts as a liquid so thin, so close to water, that most would never guess. It holds the base for one of the world's most iconic natural sweeteners. Yep, that's our maple syrup. The foundation is the sugar maple, a tree native to northeastern North America. These trees aren't just tall timbers in the woods, they are living reservoirs that, for a few short weeks each year, release a flow of sap. That window, known as sugaring season, is as fragile as it is vital. It opens when days rise above freezing while nights dip below it. This freeze-thaw rhythm creates pressure inside the tree. During warm days, gases expand, forcing sap downward and outward. At night, the chill contracts the gases, drawing more sap up from the roots. The result is a natural pumping system that delivers a steady, gentle flow, but only while the weather cooperates. The moment temperatures level off, the flow stops, and with it, the year's chance at syrup. Maple syrup factories rely entirely on this natural rhythm. In fact, everything downstream, the efficiency of high-capacity evaporators, the quality of filtration, the consistency of bottling, depends on what happens first in the forest. That is why the process begins months earlier. The collection methods have changed drastically from the iconic image of buckets hanging from tree trunks. Either way, the result is superb. This is raw sap collected from hundreds of trees, moved quickly to prevent spoilage. But even though it looks ordinary, this is the moment when sap officially becomes a raw material. Every batch is checked for sugar content, measured in degrees, Brix. Most sap falls between 1.5 and 3% sugar, depending on the season, the tree, and the weather. Early season sap is often lighter, with delicate sugar profiles that will later translate to light-colored, mild-tasting syrup. If sap smells sour or shows cloudiness, it indicates bacterial growth, and that can affect both yield and taste. The fresher it stays, the cleaner the final syrup. In every 40 liters of sap, only about 1 liter of potential syrup hides. Boiling all that water away, as producers once did in open pans over wood fires, takes enormous amounts of energy. That's where modern engineering has reshaped the industry. Before sap even reaches an evaporator, it passes through reverse osmosis units, or RO systems, as producers call them. The concentrate, richer in sugar, moves on to the evaporators. Depending on the system, sugar content can be raised from around 2% up to 8%, 12%, or even higher before boiling begins. This means less water needs to be boiled away, saving time, fuel, and money. Once maple syrup has been filtered, tested, and graded, it finally looks like the product most people recognize. Rich, amber liquid with a slow, glossy pour. But before it can be enjoyed at breakfast tables or used by food manufacturers, it must be packaged. And in factories, packaging is as critical as any other stage. Done properly, it protects flavor, prevents spoilage, and prepares syrup for journeys that often span continents. Factories use different types of containers depending on the market. Glass bottles are the most traditional. They showcase syrup's natural clarity and color, appealing to consumers who want to see what they're buying. The iconic maple leaf-shaped glass bottle, common in gift shops and export markets, is a symbol as much as a package. Plastic jugs, usually HDPE, food grade, and light-colored, dominate retail shelves for everyday use. They are lightweight, shatter-resistant, and often printed with maple-themed designs. Syrup is also tested for clarity, pH, and microbial safety. Many large producers submit regular samples to laboratories for verification, especially when exporting internationally. With maple syrup sold in more than 60 countries, from Europe to Asia, meeting strict food safety standards is non-negotiable. Some will go directly into retail bottles, glass, plastic, or tin. Others will be packed into large drums, often 30 or 55 gallons, destined for export or food manufacturing. If I ask you what's that one condiment you'll have for life, stop right there. Don't you say anything but ketchup. If you do, you'll probably lie. Guys, that's our die-hard childhood companion, don't you think? Let me take you inside the bulk ketchup production so you see for yourself what nostalgia it holds. Ketchup production begins with a crop that has been standardized for scale, the processing tomato. Unlike fresh market tomatoes, which prioritize appearance and juiciness, these are engineered for density, color uniformity, and higher soluble solids. Farmers contract their fields months in advance with processors such as Heinz, Hunt's, or Morningstar, ensuring the fruit meets strict parameters. The goal is uniformity. Every tomato delivered to the factory must provide predictable levels of sugar, acidity, and color. Processing tomatoes are bred for determinate ripening, meaning the bulk of the crop reaches maturity within a narrow harvest window. Harvesting is conducted with self-propelled tomato harvesters, each capable of handling up to 60 tons per hour. The machine uproots plants, shakes off soil, and conveys the fruit through an onboard sorting system. Electronic sensors and mechanical shakers remove dirt clods, vines, and unripe fruit, leaving only mature tomatoes. The crop is transferred into gondola-style trailers that hold about 25 metric tons each. These trailers are paired with shuttle trucks, enabling continuous harvest operations across vast acreages. Factories position themselves close to production zones because tomatoes deteriorate rapidly after harvest. Within 24 hours, enzymatic changes reduce firmness and flavor quality, making immediate processing essential. Trucks haul their loads directly from fields to plants where intake systems operate around the clock during peak season. At peak harvest, a single large ketchup facility can receive over 10,000 tons of tomatoes per day. Their batch must be good enough because factories measure Brix levels, a reading of soluble solids, mostly sugars, which must typically fall between 5.0 and 5.5 for ketchup-grade tomatoes. At the factory gates, the trucks unload into water. Long channels called flumes pull tons of tomatoes forward in a steady current. It's transport and cleaning in one move. By the time the fruit reaches the line, most of the soil and debris is already gone. On the conveyor belts, thousands of tomatoes pass optical scanners every minute. High-speed cameras read their color, size, and shape. Anything green, cracked, or rotten is blown off instantly with a jet of compressed air. What once took a team of inspectors is now handled in milliseconds. Ketchup's spread is global. The United States consumes the most per capita, averaging nearly 3 bottles per person annually. Germany follows closely, where ketchup is paired with sausages and fries. But no matter the region, the backbone of supply is industrial tomato paste and the distribution networks that move it. What's more shocking is that how brands standardize across markets while still adapting to local tastes. Heinz, for example, maintains a core recipe but adjusts sweetness and acidity depending on geography. Bottles destined for Canada are slightly less sweet than those for the Middle East. Factories coordinate globally, but subtle shifts ensure ketchup aligns with cultural preferences. A single multinational brand may operate more than 30 bottling plants worldwide. Combined, these facilities output billions of bottles annually. To keep this system synchronized, companies rely on advanced demand forecasting. Skip these deets and let's come to the core thing. Let me explain the philosophy of how it works. The approved fruit is crushed. The mash that comes out includes pulp, juice, skins, and seeds, but ketchup isn't juice, it needs a body. That's why the mash is heated immediately in what the industry calls a hot break. In seconds, the mix reaches near boiling temperatures. This stops enzymes that would thin the pulp and locks in the natural pectin. Without it, ketchup would run like water. Next come the finishers. These are industrial sieves that spin the mash at high speed. Pulp flows through while skins and seeds are discarded. Discarded but not wasted, though. They are sold for animal feed or even pressed for tomato seed oil. At this scale, even byproducts are part of the business. Massive vacuum evaporators pull water out until the mixture thickens into paste. 6 kilograms of raw tomatoes shrink into just 1. The result is stable, transportable, and ready for global trade. One factory can fill thousands of steel drums with paste, each holding 200 liters, and those drums move worldwide. A bottle of ketchup in London or Lagos might have started its life as paste from California's Central Valley. By the time this stage is complete, the fragile fruit from the field has been turned into an industrial ingredient, consistent, dense, and built for the demands of worldwide ketchup production. So until now you heard how it's done in scientific language, take a look how that mesh is going to be crushed into smooth ketchup in no time. To become the sauce known worldwide, that tomato paste needs balance: sweetness, acidity, and spice. That transformation starts in giant stainless steel mixing tanks. Each one can hold tens of thousands of liters, and every batch is formulated with mathematical precision. For this video's purpose, let me focus to one of them. To this, factories add water, vinegar, sugar, salt, and a tightly controlled blend of spices. The ratios aren't improvised. Recipes are logged in exact percentages, and ingredients are dosed automatically by computerized systems. Cooking produces ketchup, but not yet a safe product for global distribution. Before it can be packaged, every batch must be sterilized. This process, known as pasteurization, gives ketchup its long shelf life without relying on artificial preservatives. Here, automation takes over. Stainless steel filling lines can process up to 1,200 bottles per minute. The sauce is kept hot during filling to maintain flow and sterility. Factories use both glass and plastic depending on market demand. Glass is heavier and more expensive, but it preserves flavor longer and carries a sense of tradition. Plastic bottles are lighter, cheaper to transport, and squeezable set, making them the dominant choice in most regions today. Regardless of material, bottles undergo their own sterilization before they ever see ketchup. High-pressure rinsers blast them with filtered air, or they pass through tunnels of UV light to eliminate contaminants. When you unwrap a roll of Mentos, you probably don't think about how much work and precision went into those chewy little candies. One thing I can tell about its ingredients is, it's probably you have never thought. Before we get into how Mentos are made in factories, let's collect what actually goes into its base. First things first, the coconut oil. If you wonder why coconut oil, so the oil helps give a smooth, slightly fatty coating inside or around the candy mass. It also helps the candy chew in a certain way and prevents stickiness. One more thing, oils can act as lubricants in molds, mixing, or coating processes, reducing sticking, facilitating coating, glazing, etc. So yeah, it's a win-win either way. Once the dried copra, the white coconut part, arrives at the oil mill, it's time to squeeze out the golden fat locked inside. Copra is first crushed into small flakes and lightly heated to around 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Heating softens the fat and drives off moisture, making pressing easier. At its core, Mentos is built from sugar, starch, and natural gum. These are sourced from multiple continents. Most Mentos factories source sugar from two primary crops, sugar beets and sugarcane. In Europe, sugar beets dominate. They're planted in spring, grown in temperate climates, and harvested in autumn when the roots are thick with sucrose. Once pulled from the ground, the beets are sliced into thin strips known as cassettes and washed. Hot water extracts the sugar, leaving behind beet pulp that often gets reused as cattle feed. The extracted juice is filtered, boiled, and crystallized into white sugar crystals, the kind that candy factories need. The important part? Consistency. The sugar must be free of excess molasses, dirt, or microbial contamination. Mentos factories don't gamble with variability. Each truckload or shipment is tested for purity before it's ever unloaded. As soon as they tested a smaller batch, they begin producing the extremely large batch. Large stainless steel mixing vats, some holding thousands of liters, combine sugar, glucose syrup, and starch. Heated steam jackets keep the temperature consistent, usually around 110 degrees Celsius, just enough to dissolve everything into a viscous solution. This mixture then passes through vacuum cookers, which remove excess water while controlling crystallization. Too many sugar crystals and the Mentos would turn grainy. Too few and the candy wouldn't hold its shape. Every factory process has a backstory, and Mentos's history is one of those that perfectly explains why its production is the way it is today. The year was the early 1930s in the Netherlands, when two brothers, Michael and Pierre van Mel, had an idea that seemed simple but ended up transforming confectionery. At that time, sweets were either hard like boiled candies or soft like caramels. There wasn't much in between. But the Van Mel brothers wanted to create something different, a peppermint caramel with a smooth chew that refreshed the mouth without sticking to the teeth. That first invention wasn't exactly the Mentos we know today, but it set the stage. As decades passed, the product evolved. Mentos had been refined into rolls of chewy mints covered with a crunchy outer shell. This was revolutionary. The combination of textures was unlike most candies on the market. To make it happen, though, factories had to develop entirely new techniques. It wasn't enough to cook sugar and pour it into molds. They needed a process that could balance two conflicting properties, softness in the center and hardness on the outside. This challenge shaped the way Mentos factories operate even today. Interestingly, the roll packaging became just as iconic as the candy itself. By selling Mentos in a long, slim roll, the brand offered not only convenience but also a sense of sharing. You could pop one, close the roll, and pass it to a friend.
You can't consume cranberries as a fresh fruit because it's too tangy for that. Ah, I can feel the tingling around my tongue. But what about the sauce? That's the real matter. So before a single vine goes into the ground, farmers have to create the perfect environment for them. Just a few inches long, these vines are taken from established ones, bundled together, and spread across the prepared land. Cranberries are slow growers. From a seed, it would take years before they produce fruit. But with cuttings, the vines establish much faster. It takes about 3 years before a new bog is ready for a full harvest. That's a long time to wait, but once the vines take hold, they can keep producing for decades. These delicate blossoms are what eventually develop into cranberries. After months of soaking up the sun, the cranberries are finally ready for harvest. By early fall, the fields are filled with deep red berries, packed with tiny air pockets that'll help them float. Now for harvesting those cute berries, they need to flood the bogs. So farmers open a system of floodgates and pumps, slowly filling the bogs with water. With the cranberries floating freely on the water, it's time to gather them up. Now this one will be a slow but controlled process. Rushing it could leave berries behind, and that's the last thing farmers want. Once the berries are fully gathered, a powerful suction pump steps in. These machines pull the cranberries from the water and load them into waiting trucks. The suction tubes are the giant vacuum hoses, slurping up thousands of berries at a time, while conveyor belts gently lift and drop them into the truck bed. Lighter, lower-quality cranberries sometimes get left behind because they don't float as well. The moment cranberries are lifted out of the water, these berries don't just get scooped up and tossed into trucks. They go through a built-in cleaning system before even leaving the farm. After a fast ride from the farm, the trucks finally arrive at the processing facility, loaded with thousands of pounds of freshly harvested cranberries. Here, these berries will be passed through several procedures to make sure they are squeaky clean. Even though they've already been rinsed in the field, there's still dirt, plant debris, and any remaining leaves or stems that need to be removed before they can be processed. As they float along, the cranberries pass through a roller system with fine mesh screens, which filter out anything that's not a berry. Leaves and twigs are skimmed off, and any small stones or heavy debris sink to the bottom and are removed. With the cranberries now clean and dry, it's time to separate the best from the rest. Not every berry that makes it this far is good enough for store shelves or processing. Factories use a combination of machines, air jets, to make sure only the highest quality cranberries move forward. This is an easy way to quickly filter out any berries that aren't up to standard. The cranberries travel along a conveyor belt lined with mechanical rollers. These rollers have gaps that are precisely sized to let smaller, underripe berries fall through, while the larger, fully developed ones continue moving forward. Cranberries are naturally firm, and a fresh, high-quality berry will bounce when dropped onto a hard surface. Good cranberries bounce up and land in collection bins, while soft or overripe ones simply roll down and get discarded. This method has been used for decades and is still one of the most effective ways to check for quality. These berries need to be handled quickly to lock in their freshness and preserve their vibrant color, tart flavor, and nutrients. For the cranberries that aren't frozen or processed, but fresh as the day one, will be sent packing them fresh, straight into plastic clamshell boxes for grocery store shelves. These boxes are designed to protect the cranberries while allowing for airflow, preventing excess moisture buildup that could cause mold. For cranberries destined for large-scale food production, like juice factories, bakeries, and restaurants, plastic boxes won't cut it. Instead, these berries are packed in bulk cartons, designed for easy transport and large-scale use. These cartons are lined with food-safe plastic bags to prevent moisture loss and keep the berries fresh. Once cranberries arrive at the sauce production facility, they are immediately moved into the cooking chambers. The cranberries are transferred into huge industrial kettles where they are mixed with water and sugar to create the perfect sweet and tangy sauce.